everyone and welcome to my channel. So in this video we're doing a use what you eat recipe challenge. So any recipes that I enjoy I'll write down in the recipe book that I have to write all these recipes down into. And I'm gluten-free and dairy-free, so all the recipes are gluten-free and dairy-free. So I do make adaptations for that. So the first thing that we're making in this video is blueberry muffins. So I got the blueberries off the blueberry bush that I have in the garden. And so the first thing I'm doing is adding 220, or is it just 200? I think however much is in that packet of butter, it's just a whole block of butter basically, of the dairy-free Alpro. I think that one was salted butter. I usually use unsalted, but I just won't add any extra salt to this. And then I'm going to cream that with 200 grams of granulated sugar. So I have an old recipe book, if you haven't been to the channel before, that I got in a charity shop, and I'm filling that up with recipes throughout this year as kind of a challenge to myself. So I started it at New Year's and I'm still going with that, filling it up. So any recipes that we do enjoy, I'll write down into the recipe book. So yeah, I'm just going to cream them. I have my KitchenAid here and I'm just going to put the whisk attachment on and cream them for a couple minutes whilst I get everything down. I do have this recipe I actually made up on the day using kind of different recipes that I've used before as inspiration. So I'm taking it off as I go, which I find the easiest way to do it. I write just like a little checklist and then I just take off the ingredients as I go, and then I don't tend to miss any ingredients. So next we're going to want 4 eggs. And I can already tell you now that these blueberry muffins did turn out delicious. If you're looking for nice gluten-free blueberry muffins, these are great. But I'm sure they'd work with non-gluten-free stuff as well. So I'm just scraping down the sides of the bowl, and you can see that the butter looks a lot whiter now, which is what you're looking for when you're creaming the butter and the sugar together. So just scrape down that and I'll mix that for another couple seconds and then add in the eggs. The blueberry bush that we have in the garden is in a plant pot, and I got it 2 years ago and it's actually been really successful this year. And we've had tons of blueberries. I need to actually pick some more of the blueberries off because we have tons of them out there. And it was really fun to be able to make muffins with homegrown blueberries. It's the first time I've ever been able to do that with blueberries. I've never had enough before. And we did have a couple of raspberries as well. Not enough to make muffins with, but maybe we'll get some more throughout the autumn time, because obviously they normally come out in autumn, but apparently because of the heat wave and the drought, I should say, in England right now, some of them kind of produce fruit early. So I'm not sure if we'll get more raspberries, but the blueberries have been super successful, and that's really exciting, and I'm excited to pick the rest of them off the bush. So I've added in there 4 eggs and I'm just mixing them in. Then next we'll kind of add in our drier ingredients and the vanilla. So you can see that's nice and mixed through. I have like the tiniest bit of vanilla puree that I'll add, and I'm also going to add 10 grams of orange juice. I really wanted kind of orange zest, but I didn't have any oranges. If I had an orange, what I would have done is zest it and juiced it and added it to the blueberry muffins to kind of give it that fresh, summery kind of taste to it. bet if you were doing making these more in the winter time, I think maple syrup would be a nice addition. More almond extract would be nice too, or even honey. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of vanilla left, so I kind of used what I had left. Probably about a teaspoon. I feel like recipes always call for a teaspoon, and you never normally really use a teaspoon. You're normally a bit generous with your vanilla teaspoon. But this time I really did only have about a teaspoon left. Usually I like to use a vanilla bean paste, because I think that just gives kind of better flavour. But I used all of that, and then now I've used all the vanilla extract as well, so I'm really running low. So to that I'm going to add 220 grams of plain gluten-free flour. If you had self-raising flour, you could use self-raising flour and cut down on baking powder. But I'm using plain flour for this recipe. I found that most muffin recipes called for plain flour. It's not something I would usually use. I would usually use self-raising flour for making a cake or something, but I just thought I'd give it a shot this time with plain flour. So I'm using 220 grams of the Dove's Farm gluten-free plain flour. To that I'm adding some xanthan gum. You don't have to use this, but it will create better texture if you're using gluten-free flour. And also baking powder, so I'm doing 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Just make sure whichever one you get is gluten-free if you're gluten-free. And the same for, I'm doing 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Obviously check all your ingredients are gluten-free, really. Sometimes it's a mission because you don't realise that certain things have gluten even though you wouldn't expect it. So you just have to be ultra aware and always checking your ingredients. So I'm just mixing that through before I mix with the flour, before I mix it all together. You could do that part in a separate bowl if you want to be really meticulous, but I'm just mixing it carefully at the top of the batter, and then I'll mix it all through together. And I accidentally didn't lock my bowl in, which is not an accident you want to make because it could be a very messy and annoying accident. But I made sure I locked it in and then put it back on. Then these, once we're, and you might want to scrape down your bowl. Once you've finished that and scraped down your bowl, you can add in your blueberries. And you might want to add a pinch of salt too. But obviously I used a salted butter, so that's why I'm not adding any salt. But if you didn't add salted butter, if you did unsalted, well, it's not really butter, it's dairy-free butter, but if you did use unsalted, then you might want to add a pinch of salt. So these are the blueberries that I picked, and there are a couple of raspberries in them. I did pull them out. I have a bunch more now as well, but those ones I picked on the day, we have been eating them as they come in as well, just snacking on the blueberries. They're really delicious. I'm not sure what variety they are, but they definitely have like a kind of floral taste to them, which I really enjoy too. Almost, I don't want to say lavendery, but yeah, floral kind of addition to the normal blueberry flavour. And I'm adding those into the bowl. I did measure it, I was using 131 grams of blueberries. I used all the blueberries I had. I would probably add a little more if I had more. I would probably do 150 grams usually of blueberries, just so you really get that blueberry taste throughout. And then I'm going to carefully mix them through. There, I was just writing down the amount that I had of the blueberries. Don't they look super pretty, the blueberries? It's funny, when you grow stuff, it just seems like so much more valuable to you than if I just bought a pack of blueberries from the shop. the appreciation for the food really increases when you spent all that time and energy and effort growing it and picking it, and all the time and effort. So once they're all mixed through, get them into the cupcake pans. You want to preheat your oven to about 170 degrees Celsius. If you have a fan oven, maybe 180 Celsius if you have a normal oven. Oh, I don't know my Fahrenheit conversion very well. I reckon that's about, let me Google it, I don't know. 170 C to F is 388 Fahrenheit. I have these brown cupcake cases that I've got in the pan, in the tray, and I'm spraying them with some oil. This oil is really powerful. It's my first time using it. I think it's the Bertolli olive oil spray or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But it was way more powerful than I was expecting, so it ended up pushing the cupcake cases out of the tray. But once I've got them all sprayed, I'll get the batter into the cupcake cases. I have 12 here, so this would make 12 muffins. I wish I had my old pan. It was an IKEA one and I loved it. It was a lot deeper, so you could really fit a lot of batter into them and it would have made them more muffin-y. But something happened to that tray, so I don't have it anymore. So this one isn't quite as big, so I feel like it's still muffins obviously, but it's just not quite the same. They're not quite as big. I kind of wish they were bigger. But these are pretty big cases, they're not small cases. So once I've got all the mixture into the tray, they're ready to go into the oven. They're nice and cute already and all sprayed up, so if we get any mixture on the tray it shouldn't get stuck. These trays are just from Tesco, but they're not my favourite trays. Like I say, I really enjoyed the IKEA one, but apparently they don't sell it anymore. And last time I went to IKEA they didn't have it anymore, so that was really disappointing. So if you know of any good cupcake and muffin trays that are quite deep, let me know, because I need them. So yeah, I think that's about 175 Fahrenheit, Celsius even. And these are once they've all done and come out of the oven. They smell and tasted incredible, and they were really moist. Exactly what you want from a blueberry muffin, really. You can see they've got some nice muffin tops too. And these were well appreciated. We ate quite a few of them in the first day. Kind of piled them up here, and then I feared they were going to fall over, so I took them down. But here's them, let's say, kind of on the inside where you can see all the blueberries. So the next recipe I made is Asian style meatballs. I don't think I followed a recipe for this. I think I winged it. So I'll just say what I've got here. I've got some meatballs that I'm browning, and to it I've added some spring onion from the garden. Basically I just wanted to try our spring onions that were coming up, and to that I'm adding some garlic, some ginger and some red onion, and then I'm going to add some chili miso as a broth with some sweet chili, rice wine vinegar, sesame oil and soy sauce. Just did it to taste. I probably did about 2 tablespoons sweet chili and soy sauce, and then about a teaspoon of rice wine vinegar and sesame seed oil. Then I added some rice noodles. I made a slurry with the cornstarch to thicken it up, and added some spinach on top. So nothing complicated, but fun anyway. So the next thing we're making is some kind of Italian sub style chopped, what is it called? It has a name, but anyway, sandwiches. So I made some gluten-free bread, picked some lettuce. It was going to seed, so I needed to use up as much of it as I could. Hence making these sandwiches. This was a while ago now because my lettuce is long gone now and dead. Because it's been really, really hot and there's no water. But anyway, we've also got a tomato on the shop, some pre-cooked chicken and bacon, and I have a second pack just in case. This is the bread that I cooked up, and I'm just going to slice that and chop up the salad. I'm not sure if I've made that salad before on this channel, but basically it's really simple. You just chop up all the ingredients, add some mayo, some Italian seasoning, and some apple cider vinegar, or any vinegar, mix it all together, and ta-da, you have a sandwich. And then the last thing I'm making is something with these potatoes. And I started a fresh cucumber here that I don't think we used. Oh no, we did use actually. So the first thing I'm doing is chopping up these potatoes and putting them in the pan. So these potatoes we actually grew in the compost because it just grew itself and we just left it there. But we did also plant some potatoes and we've picked those as well and they did very well. We've been eating those. I want to call this my take on patatas bravas. So take that as you will, it's definitely not authentic. But I'm just chopping out the potatoes, cooking them in some salt and oil. I've got some onion as well. I'm going to pick some rosemary and some other herbs. Also from the garden. This rosemary plant I actually just bought. You know how you can buy either the fresh herbs in a packet, or sometimes they have the plant. I just bought the plant and it came with like 2 rosemary plants in it, so I just planted them separately and they're still doing very well. And then this was my herb tower, which is not doing so great now just because the heat and everything. But that's okay, I would need to replant the seeds really. Because most plants are dead, but we have some parsley and some coriander that I picked from this. We also have a bunch of chives outside. I'm not sure if I picked any of those. This is the olive oil I'm using to cook the potatoes in. It's really nice flavour. I got it in TK Maxx. So I added the onions. I added some paprika, some pepper, it looks like, some Italian seasoning probably because I'm addicted to Italian seasoning, and some smoked paprika. And then I'm going to add some chopped tomatoes. I've cut out the cucumber from the garden, and that was delicious too. We've had a few cucumbers out of the garden. Added in the herbs. Cooked some chicken just to go over with it as some protein. And then I also added some chili into my boyfriend's one of this because he likes really spicy food and I like medium sweet food. So this was mine. And then for his, I chopped up one of the chilies from the garden as well. And these are pretty spicy chilies. So I took a bite of it and it was really hot. So I kind of regretted that. But I added that to the bowl and that was his meal. So here's the book I was talking about. Yeah, I picked it up in a charity shop, and I've just been filling it out with recipes. And it has a nice artwork throughout it. Bless me. So, the only recipe I'm writing down this time is blueberry muffins. It's not that the other recipes weren't good, it's just that the blueberry muffins were the only one that was really much of a recipe. Everything else was kind of just using what we grew. And I think that's fun for this time round. I think sometimes it's fun to just be able to use the produce that you grow instead of necessarily trying to create recipes out of it. And you kind of have to use it as it comes in, so sometimes there's not a huge plan around what I'm doing. It's just writing things, just making things up and using what we have. But the blueberry muffins for sure is a recipe I would make again. And I'm pretty sure I've already had the chopped Italian sub recipe down, so I'm not going to try that because I think we did that one before. But yeah, so I'm just writing that into the recipe book now, and I'll be able to use that again. And I don't think there's any recipes for me to link in the description this time because I haven't really followed any. But yeah, no, I can't think of any that I need to link. So it's just the ones that I said. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it provided you with some entertainment and inspired you to use what you have grown, or maybe go out blackberry picking or something like that. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!